Okay, hi everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar, Supporting Your Wellbeing During Your Online Studies. Today's webinar's format is a little bit different to our usual style. So today we're going to check in with each other. We're going to check in with all of you as our prospective students, and that's going to be followed by a discussion between Jane Hardman, who is our Student Wellbeing Manager here at the University of Manchester, and Spencer Davies, who is Head of Advice and Response. Jane and Spencer are going to provide you with a bit of an insight into our fantastic wellbeing initiatives that we have in place for you as students here at the University of Manchester. So this week is Mental Health Awareness Week, and with everything that's going on in the world at the moment, we really thought a check-in with each other and a check-in with you, as well as highlighting all of the good stuff we as a university are doing, is more important than ever. One thing I'd like to highlight before we go into a few introductions is that as an online learner, you will receive the same level of support as our on-campus students. Just because that you study remotely, it doesn't mean that you are alone. You'll be a part of a fantastic online community. So I'm going to provide you with a bit of an insight into who I am. For those of you who haven't spoken to me already, I'm one of the course advisors here at the University of Manchester. I manage a variety of online blended learning courses in the format of masters, postgraduate certificates and CPD courses. I'm responsible for delivering webinars such as this one, as well as individual consultations with you as students in order for you to make that real informed decision as to whether or not the course is the right fit for you. My main role, like I said, is to really offer support and guidance at every stage of your application journey. We're now in week 10 of working from home, and I do have to be honest that at first I did find it really difficult because I really thrive off human interaction. However, I found that having a routine has really kept me feeling positive during these times. Now that I don't really have a commute to work, apart from kind of down the stairs, I go for a run or walk each evening so that I can listen to music or a podcast in order to kind of reflect on my day. And I've found this has really helped during these times, and I feel like it's something that I'll continue to do even once we are back to kind of normality. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Craig, who is going to provide you with a bit of an insight into his role and also how he's been coping in these times of lockdown.
Thanks, Daisy. So yeah, similar to what Daisy does, I am our other course advisor. And yes, I look after our online MSc courses and postgraduate certificates, diplomas. And again, like Daisy, I have been responsible for some webinars that we've run. Hopefully a lot of you who are joining us today have attended some of my webinars with our academic colleagues. So to touch on what Daisy's saying about coping with working from home, yeah, I have found that difficult too. You might be able to tell from my accent slightly different to Daisy's. So my commute into Manchester is often a little longer than Daisy's. And it's amazing really to go from not enjoying the train commute to actually missing it because I'm spending my days just at home. And it does take away, as Daisy said, that human interaction. And something else that's been happening as well while I've been kind of on lockdown with my partner, she has a garden at the back of her house, and it's almost like we're under attack by a fox. There was a pigeon attacked last night. This is a regular occurrence as well. So I'm finding that I'm becoming more paying attention to what's taking place at home than probably what I normally would. But other things that I'm doing to try and cope as well is, like Daisy, trying to get out of an evening time, listening to some music, and generally trying to stay in contact with friends and family via social media. I think is more than it's ever been important. So yeah, just to finish as well. So my role will be responding to your emails, as I'm sure many of you who are attending have found that. So please do feel free to continue with your questions, and by all means share with me how you're coping as well. It's interesting to hear as well. Thanks, Daisy.
Great, thank you, Craig. Melissa, I'm going to hand over to you and kind of ask how you're doing and about your role, if that's okay.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. So I'm a study advisor for online course at the University of Manchester. So there's 4 different courses I look after at the moment. So after Daisy and Craig have been supporting students through applying for their course, I then look after students throughout their course. So that will be inducting students right at the start, providing study plans so you know where you're at in your course, answering any kind of queries, and anything non-academic. So I'm here right from the start to finish the course. I think I've been coping with lockdown okay. I quite like being at home. I'm a bit of a homebody, so it kind of works for me. But one of the things that has been important has been sticking to structure. So I really need structure, make sure that I do things at the same kind of times I would do normally. So starting work at the same time, finishing work at the same time, doing normal things in the morning. So even just make sure that I have a shower or have breakfast in the morning, so it feels like a more of a normal day. Yeah, that's how I think it.
Great, thanks, Melissa. Simon, how are you doing? How's everything your end in terms of lockdown and things?
So thanks, Daisy. Yeah. So yeah, my name's Simon, and I'm one of the other study advisors here at the University of Manchester. So just like Melissa said in her bit, my role is to support students from the point when they start at the university right up until graduation as well. So like Melissa said, I'll be delivering an induction, and also I'm obviously the primary contact for non-academic matters for online learners. And yeah, I think that for me it's been a really strange time. I know that like Daisy said, it definitely was quite difficult at the first few weeks to feel like you had a sense of structure and purpose in life. I think the thing that's really helped me is just making sure that I get out and about. I know that's like really obvious, but I think just like the days where I've not been outside at all, I really notice it. I think as well, just doing nice things, making sure you got something to look forward to at the end of each week. Like, so I've been ordering food from sort of my favorite restaurants and takeaways and stuff, and like that's something to look forward to on a Friday. And obviously, in order to do that, I have to go for a run as well. Because obviously, it's important to have balance in your life. But yeah, I think exercise and making sure you got things to look forward to each week is a way to get through things.
Great, thanks, Simon. I do think it is all about balance these days, absolutely. So I'm now going to just move on to Jane. Jane, how are you doing? And do you want to give a bit of an insight into your role here at the university?
Yeah, sure. So I'm okay, a little bit up and down, as everybody has been. I'm the student wellbeing manager for the university, so I'm really lucky in that I can understand the background of how I'm feeling, and I can predict how I'm likely to feel. So that's quite a comfort, knowing that it's normal, how I'm feeling is normal. The other thing that's been really helpful for me is my team produces lots and lots of wellbeing resources for students. So we've been using those ourselves as well, because the wellbeing that we do is wellbeing for human beings rather than for a particular demographic. So the thing that I find, like Melissa, is that routine's really good for me. So I've actually been using one of our wellbeing planners and planning in 2 nice things every day. And I do that on a Sunday, and I can see it on the fridge for the rest of the week, and I can see ahead of me that the week's punctuated up, and it's punctuated up with some good, nice things to do. And as Simon said, we have Takeaway Friday as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it.
That sounds really nice, Jane. I like the fact that you put it on your fridge as well, so you can see it every day when you're going to get your food as well. I think that's great. So thank you so much for that. Great. I'm now going to just hand over to Spencer. So Spencer, how are you? How are you feeling? What kind of do you do here at the university?
Thanks, Daisy. Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you very much. It's been quite an unusual, well, it's an unusual time for everybody, but it's been unusual for me in that I was actually brand new to the university. I've been in office about 3 weeks when all of the working from home, remote working happened. So it has been a bit of a baptism of fire for me in that respect. I've been working from a kitchen desk longer than I actually was at the university, but just similar to what the rest of you guys are saying, I've just been trying to keep a routine, trying to, I've got a phrase I use with my kids that we need to embrace the unusual, which is to, no, it is a strange situation. There are lots of things which obviously are troubling about it, but in other places there are opportunities. So I mean, I mentioned my kids. If anybody sees the door swing open at the back, please collectively shout, because I've warned them to stay out the room. But in terms, I've been spending more time with the kids. It's an opportunity to have lunch with them, which is something that clearly when I'm at work and they're at school can't happen. So in that respect, yeah, building on some of the things that I'd like to ask Jane about shortly in our talk, I've been trying to just do positive things to actively structure my day and my well-being. I'm the so-called head of advice and response, which my area essentially are well-being, support and intervention areas, which covers a range of things, but as you might be able to see from the slide, it covers investigations into serious issues such as sexual violence, domestic violence, hate crime. It also is an area that is involved in academic support for students with mental health issues, and in a broader sense, with wonderful people like Jane, I help promote active and proactive well-being across the university to both staff and students. So thanks very much for inviting us here today, Daisy.
No, it's an absolute pleasure to have you both, and we're really excited to hear what you both have got to say and in terms of supporting our students in their online studies and also in their well-being. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to hand it back over to you both for you to kind of have a bit of a discussion about various things, that all of the good stuff that we're doing as a university. So over to you guys.
Thank you. Afternoon then, Jane. You and I are just about, I don't know, about 3 miles down the road from each other in South Manchester currently, but obviously all our conversation has been by means of little squares on the screen, which I guess is life for a lot of people at the moment. In terms of why people might choose to sign up for a course, there are, I suppose, lots of different reasons. To challenge themselves, to develop themselves professionally, to pursue a new area of learning. How, in a general way, can university support services help people to achieve these goals?
Well, you're right. We know that there are lots of reasons that people sign up for courses, particularly postgraduate courses. And postgraduates in particular come to us from lots of different situations. So we know that some people might be studying alongside quite serious work pressures. People might be returning to learning after some time away, and that can sometimes cause a little bit of anxiety. So what I'd say is that the main thing about the university is that there is absolutely tons of support. There's a huge safety net under everybody. So everybody at the university, every student has an academic tutor who can help them with their academic work, but they also have a study advisor who can help with any non-academic issues, and can also help students to navigate all of the wider support as well. So there's a lot of support available. So for instance, overseas students can access academic English courses. For students who are maybe returning to study after some time away, the library resources are fantastic, and they cover referencing, essay writing, things like that. And obviously, of course, we've got a huge wellbeing provision at the university as well.
To pick up on that point, I mean, clearly, well-being is a central area, but support is, more or less across the week, more or less across our university year, desirable and useful to all of us. Can you explain to us what you understand by the term well-being and how it's practiced at the university? And can you tell us why you think well-being is important?
Yeah, I guess the word well-being, it's used so much now, isn't it? And it's often conflated with mental health. And then that tends to lead to negative connotations. When people think of mental health or talk about mental health, they're often talking about mental ill health. But the way that we think about well-being at the university is much more holistic than just mental health. At the university, we have a real culture with staff and students of proactively looking after our well-being. So we don't wait for people to be in difficulty. There's lots of promotion and prompts and nudges about looking after our well-being. I guess the best way to define well-being in the way that we look at it here is a sense of feeling good and functioning well is how we tend to define it. And we know that if you're feeling good and you're functioning well, you will tend to do well in your studies and do well in your personal life surrounding it and underpinning it.
The university, I know, promotes the so-called 6 ways to well-being. Can you explain to us a bit about what they are and give us some illustrations? Yes,
I'm a bit of a 6 ways evangelist. So the 6 ways to well-being, it's really a framework to help us to talk about well-being. So 6 ways is evidence-led. It's based on UK government research. It's not a university thing. It's used widely. It's used in the NHS. And basically, 6 ways to well-being are a set of everyday small actions that the evidence shows if we practice them, they're just tiny things, they can have a positive effect, a real boost to our mental well-being. So as an example, Daisy mentioned it's Mental Health Awareness this week, Mental Health Awareness Week this week, and the theme for Mental Health Awareness Week is kindness. So the evidence shows that doing little things to help others makes them feel good, and it also gives us a boost too. So give, or kindness, is one of the 6 ways to well-being, and what we try to do is encourage small acts of kindness. So this week we're doing a lot about encouraging that. So contacting someone to see how they're feeling, treating someone with a little bit of extra kindness today, and the evidence shows that that will have a real positive mental well-being impact.
Thank you. Yeah, that helps my understanding of it. I referenced in my introduction that I currently, as we speak, have 2 live kids upstairs, one of whom is reading a book, I hope, one of whom's doing a project on a Tyrannosaurus Rex, I hope. One thing that probably is going to be common for a lot of the potential learners watching this presentation is that having to juggle different demands, work, possibly family, external commitments and friends and relationships and networks, and of course coming into the mix will be university assignments. What can students do to support themselves to manage these competing demands?
It's funny, isn't it? Because the time that we're in at the moment, we're all, whether we're studying or not, managing those competing demands. Like you've said, you've got the kids at home. Luckily, I've only got one here now. And there's absolutely tons out there at the moment, so about supporting yourself with that. But I think the type of thing that I've really picked up on, and it's something that we say to online learners a lot, is to try, if you can, to have a differentiated workspace, so that you can pack away your work at the end of the day. So whether that's if you're lucky enough to have a separate space, or I remember when we first started working from home, was it 10 weeks ago? I was working in the kitchen on my laptop and I didn't put it away at night. So I'd be getting up in the morning, eating my breakfast, logging onto emails. So I'd be working from 7:30. I'd finish working, but then the laptop was there shouting at me from the kitchen table. So I'd be working later as well. So now I make a conscious effort, 5 o'clock, put it away and just move it off the kitchen table. So that kind of thing can be really helpful. But I think more broadly, what I'd say in terms of how students can help themselves to juggle all of these different things is to recognise, as we do, that struggle is normal. It will be difficult. It will be difficult to juggle everything, but that is normal. That's why the resources are all there, and you're not alone. And the other thing that I'd say is that seeking help in those situations is normal. So that we're all there to help, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's very important, isn't it, to sort of to understand and identify that all the things that we're talking about, all of us on the call, and most, if not all of us who are listening in, experience this. So that what we actually at times feel is abnormal, by very definition, is very normal. Talking of normal, a phrase which we're probably all very familiar with, to say the least, is the new normal. And that's something which is, the understanding of which is obviously developing in terms of the UK and overseas. One thing which obviously is not entirely clear yet is exactly how sort of traditional university experience is going to look from September. But if I were a traditional, let's say, undergraduate student arriving on the campus in September, assuming that you know, the national picture allows it, I imagine that I'd soon be oriented to where the library is, where the careers office is, where the wellbeing desk is. But most of our audience today are soon to be hopefully blended or online learners, seldom or ever to set foot in the university. Can they access similar support as face-to-face students, and does that apply to overseas as well as home students?
Yeah, completely. I think I'd probably pick up on when you're talking about a traditional undergraduate student. I think the thing to say about University of Manchester is its incredible diversity. There isn't really a typical student. So we've got 40,000 students at the university. 50% of those are overseas students. We've got a huge postgraduate community, a lot of online learners. So all the resources that we develop are really inclusive. They speak to a number of people in terms of tone and content. We're not just speaking to a UK 18 to 21-year-old leaving home for the first time. So everything that we do is, in terms of wellbeing, is with that much broader audience in mind. A lot of the resources that we have for support are online, because that's the way students tend to like to consume them, if you like. So all of the 6 Ways to Wellbeing stuff's online. But then there's lots of other wellbeing support resources online, so resources for stress, concentration, routine and structure. And then we also have an online mental health support product, Big White Wall, that's 24/7 online. Obviously, just like on campus students, all online learners have access to their academic tutor, their study advisor, who can help them to navigate all of those online resources. But it's certainly, it's the same support. We don't have different support for students who are on campus and students who are online at all.
Thanks, Jane. Just mindful of the time, I think we could probably talk all day between us. But I think to bring our conversation to an end, first of all, thank you for your answers, and I found what you've had to say really helpful and reassuring, and I hope that our audience have found the same. Just to put you on the spot slightly, Jane, as we come towards the end of this meeting, could you give me and our audience one last piece of advice, one takeaway that you think we could use to help promote our well-being over the next week or so?
Yeah, I suppose we are at the moment in lockdown. We're living in really uncertain times. None of us know what's around the corner, really. And it's really it's easy in terms of our well-being to start thinking about, you know, what might happen and dwelling on that. And what I'd say is, particularly when things are really uncertain, is try and identify what you have in your control and focus on that. So that's what I'm doing with my wellbeing planner on the fridge. I'm controlling what is in my control, plan, structure, a bit of routine around what you do have in your control, and try and build in 1 or 2 positive wellbeing things every day, whether that's sitting down and having a coffee away from your screen. I'm about to go and, after this meeting, go and bake brownies with my daughter. That's my wellbeing activity this afternoon. So yeah, just identify what you have in your control, focus on that, and be kind to yourself.
As we mentioned earlier on, I'm only 3 miles down the road. If any of those brownies find it to my doorstep, I would be absolutely delighted. Jane, thank you very much for that. I'm going to hand back over to Daisy.
Jane and Spencer, thank you so much. I'm absolutely gutted I'm not 3 miles down the road from you, Jane. Those brownies would be great.
Can they come
guys,
15 miles down the road, Jane? No.
I really appreciate both of your time. I definitely found it really insightful just hearing all of the good stuff about wellbeing and those great initiatives that we've got in place for all of our students, regardless of online or on-campus study. So thank you so much for joining us today. I want to kind of wrap up before we take some questions. As you've already met Craig and I this afternoon, we are your dedicated course advisors, and we really are here to support you. So please feel free to get in touch with us. Ask us any questions about your course of interest, the admissions process, anything that will help you make that informed decision. You can email us, and here's our email address. So it's studyonline@manchester.ac.uk. Before we take questions, I do just want to kind of say a massive thank you to Melissa and Simon, our study advisors, for joining us, Craig, my fellow course advisor, and Jane and Spencer for joining. It's been a great session, so I appreciate everyone's time. So we do have a few questions, and I appreciate all of those who have asked. I want to start off with it's not a question, it's a bit of a kind of a thank you. So in keeping with our kindness theme of the mental awareness week, someone has kindly said that they would like to thank us all for our help during their admissions process. So well done, team, we've done a good job. The next question is, will there be some form of induction before I start my course in September? So Simon and Melissa, I'm not sure who wants to take that, but I'm going to pass that over to you if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. So every student will be offered an online induction. So this is mainly to welcome you to the course, and it's bespoke to each student's course. So essentially, we'd be delivering an orientation around Blackboard, which is the online virtual learning environment, I should say. And then we'll also be discussing other resources as well, such as library, the other support services you can access, and just making sure that everything's ready for you to start and you feel comfortable, really. I mean, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Melissa?
Yeah, it's a chance for you to ask questions as well. If you get to starting the course and realise there's anything about the units that you need to know, if there's any more help, then we're here for you in that induction.
Yeah, we generally find students find it really helpful, and so I really would encourage you to attend one of those inductions.
Great, thank you, Simon and Melissa. We have a question about the admissions process. So can you help me with the admissions process? So one thing I'd like to say, and I'll pass you over to Craig if he wants to add anything, is contact us. Let us know that the course of interest and the course that you're applying to. We can kind of either give your application form a bit of a once over, but essentially what you need to do is email worldwideapplications@manchester.ac.uk. That's our admissions team. They'll kind of review and ultimately make that final decision on your application. But in the first instance, please do get in touch with either Craig or I. Craig, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, Daisy, it's funny you mentioned that. I've just been speaking to a potential applicant who's at the stage of sending their application off, but wanted me to look over their transcripts, CV and certificate. And that is something that Daisy and I can help with, is just to make sure that the units you've previously studied in your undergrad course match what it is you're looking to do with us, and also obviously your CV. We can look to see that your job role and your responsibilities in there is relevant to the course as well, which we're happy to do. Obviously we want to make sure that the right course is there for you.
Brilliant, thanks Craig. So I've got a question. I know we touched on this before, the 6 ways to wellbeing. So someone's asked, the 6 ways of wellbeing concept is great. If I become a student in September, and am I able to access the material, and will the access be the same as an on-campus student? So Jane, I'm going to pass that back to you if that's all right.
Yeah, it's all online, and actually you don't need to wait until you're a registered student. So anybody can access these resources. I send them to my family and friends all the time. So you just go on to manchester.ac.uk/6 ways, and everything's there. You can access it now.
Brilliant, thanks Jane. And I'm conscious of time, but I just want to say again to all of the students who've joined us, thanks for joining. I hope you found it insightful. I will send around the recording of this webinar to you all, along with some really helpful resources that Jane and Spencer have covered. Like I said, Craig and I are on hand to support you along the way, so please do get in touch with us. But from all of us here, thank you, and we hope you're all doing well, and we look forward to hopefully receiving your application to one of our fantastic programs in due course. And thank you to everyone on the call. Your time's greatly appreciated.
Thanks, Daisy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Daisy. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.